Test microphone. You see that coming through. Okay. Right, hey Taphoid and Ed's Vision. I'm usually streaming a few things on Twitch, but I thought I'd just take a look at how it's all going to work on YouTube today. So yeah, that's very warm, so I'm going to put myself on the camera a little bit and let's have a look at Mr. Kicker, a Semicom game which was very likely made for when the World Cup was over in Korea, and that was all the rage. So this is one I emulated a few years ago now, and it feels like a natural follow-up to things like Semicom's Hyper Pac-Man and Twinkle. I can see your comment, Thomas. Thank you for watching. I don't know how long I'll be streaming for, just see how things go and see what people think. But yeah, it's standard Semicom, but so it's an evolution of their maze game concept. You've got the usual Pac-Man style dots to pick up, but now you roll around on this ball and you can fire the ball off to collect the dots for you. So there's a bit more strategy than a regular Pac-Man game, and it's designed for 2 players as well, but that's not going to be happening here. So then you get a bit of accelerated speed to collect the rest of them. So the volume level's okay for everybody? Yeah, I think this one tends to get overlooked, and it would have been one of the final arcade games Semicom actually put out, because they mostly moved on to sort of gambling and redemption machines, and I guess they just didn't find the arcades to be profitable anymore. But it's one worth checking out if you like this kind of maze game. Runs on a Hyperstone based platform. Koreans did like around this time. Right, thank you, Taphoid. Alright, there we go. There are two versions of this supported in MAME. This one's on a more common platform, the other one is on slightly different hardware and seems to have some problems with saving the game data, which means it ends up locking itself up if you get high scores and stuff. Because I think there's a workaround at the moment, but that just means it doesn't save the data properly. But this, the parent set is fine, doesn't seem to have such issues. But there's plenty of elements of game here. You see I've got the power ball now and it smashes straight through things. There's strategy to clearing the levels. If you clear all these blocks, you get the bonus items at the end for higher scores. It, like most traditional arcade games, is all about the score, really. I'm playing on pad at the moment. I'm more used to playing on a keyboard, so feels a bit slippery. Ooh, I'm out of time. Oh. There we go. Missed the dot. It's colourful. It's got all the way the items bounce around seems to be inherited from the Twinkle game I mentioned earlier, but that was on previous hardware. It actually has a dip switch controlling if everything is waving around or not. Thought it was a bug when they didn't at first, but no, there's a dip switch controlling that. Is teleporters? Yep. I'll likely be playing a credit or so of each game rather than spending too long on any certain one. But if I die like that, that's not going to last long. So yeah, I imagine we've got the 222 release coming up in the next few days. There's a fair bit in there actually, because there wasn't a release last month. So we've got, I think, 2 new Game & Watch titles there. We're down to just 1 remaining, as I mentioned in the last video I uploaded. I think the next one should be done over the next month or 2. And then we're just looking for the odd revision, such as the version of Judge without the scrolling bug. Okay. In terms of arcades in the new version, there's definitely a few things. There's an Italian or Spanish prototype. I think it's Spanish, from the people who made Buccaneers. That's just a sort of overhead Monaco GP style thing, which didn't get released. This one is Mr. Kicker, a Korean game from Semicom, released around 2003, I think. And hey Johan, nice to see you here. I saw you've got your Twitch set up as well with your things. I did subscribe to that. Not actually managed to catch you streaming yet, though. The time you were, I was already watching something else. But I will have to keep an eye out for that. I'd say post a link, but I think I've got links disabled as spam protection at the moment, so how are you coping on anyway? Everything still as it was last time we spoke? But yeah, if you want to give the name of what you're doing and tell people about it in the chat, that's all good with me. It just you can't really post the link. Yeah. That must feel good. But is things getting back to normal with work and everything then, or is that still a little way off for you? Yes, Semicom. I really like a lot of what they put out. Sure, it's all low budget Korean, and some of it's not very original, but it's a different level to most Korean games. For the most part, it's playable. There's the odd floor. I know I was watching the MAME roulette stream, and Lord BBH managed to soft lock Dreamworld by killing an enemy that shouldn't have been killed. And right, so you get to enjoy the weather a little bit, and I say enjoy. For me, this is a bit too hot, but you can't please everybody, I guess. But yeah, okay. I mean, this is my second credit on this now, so the thing is, I do like playing it. It's a football game that doesn't feel like you're playing football because you're just using the ball for other things, having a little kick around in a maze. Maybe this should be included in sort of FIFA as a bonus game. It's probably better than the training mode. Hello Mass Ninja, how are you today? Yeah, I mean, if any of you aren't following on Twitch, it would help if you went along there and did give that a follow, because I think most of my streaming will be done on Twitch, but I do know that I've got more people on the YouTube channel, because the YouTube channel is where I've been uploading things for, what, 10 years? So, yeah, I think yeah, there's definitely some questionable ball physics here. It's beyond what even sort of Roberto Carlos would be doing. That's showing my age a bit. I was watching Kim's stream with Southend where she decided to sign Roberto Carlos, winning the league many times, which is also about as unrealistic as the ball physics here. But that was on Sensible Soccer, and that's another good game. That's not an arcade. I think it should have been. Sensible Soccer arcade would have worked really well, but maybe too much of a UK European thing to catch on. I don't know. The only attempts to bring Amiga to the arcades were not very successful. Yeah, you picked up the Last of Us game, didn't you? I think was that your channel? I don't know. And greetings from the UK. I think I'll be looking at some Spanish games in a bit. I definitely noted one or two down. Like the last credit on this, and then yeah, after this one I'm going to put a Spanish game on that I think it's fairly well known these days, but it deserves a little bit more attention. Oh, don't get burned by the fire. Okay, that's me dead. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was Mr. Kicker. I don't want to continue, but if you like that type of game, definitely. No, this isn't a plug and play. This is a Korean arcade game. I'm looking at some arcades on this stream rather than anything else, because I think it's what the YouTube channel is more known for in the early days, although obviously lately I've been doing more plug and play work. But I thought, why not have an arcade stream? So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so this is Mr. Kicker. I did at one point have a little current game thing at the bottom of the screen, but I kept forgetting to update it on the previous stream, so I've taken it out for now, but I might try and use one of the Lua scripts to write it to a file and automatically change it, but I've not gone to that yet. Anyway, that was Mr. Kicker. Spanish game. This is Pirates, a 1994 game by Nix, which there was a bit of a meme going around for the title screen pronunciation for a while. Definitely sounds more like Pias than Pirates. And this has nothing to do with the PC game of the same name. It's, as you can see, it's a sort of a Cabal Blood Lovers type thing. But it appears to be entirely original code. I don't think it's actually stolen code. It's just not the most original concept, but it works really well as this type of game. And it's one of my favourites of this type. This one actually surfaced at first when one of the guys who worked at the company that made it had a board left over from when he worked there and got that dumped. Although the odd board does still show up, it seems to be a rare one. But yeah, what's going on? Okay, so yeah, run around, shoot. We've got to clear a certain number of enemies on each stage. Most of the scenery is destructible, so you know you can blow everything up and it will collapse, just like Cabal really. But that's I think that was one of the big appeals of this type of game, just the level of destruction. It's always satisfying to see buildings come crashing down like that. I think it's one of the big reasons things like the EDF series are popular these days, because you can just blow up most of the city while you're taking out all the bugs. Yeah, that is very likely Blood Brothers that you're thinking of, which was, say, Wild West. Very similar gameplay. That was a Cebu one. And this is very clearly influenced by it, but I think the pirate theme works really well here. Blood Brothers was also bootlegged under the title West Story in some regions. So my concentration is half watching the chat, half watching the game. Let's get rid of the pirate ships in the background. But, yeah, Spain. Surprisingly big on the arcade scene. You had Galeco and obviously smaller companies like Nix here, but there was a lot of output, and just like on the say 8-bits, the Amstrad and Spec and stuff like that, there's a lot of software from Europe, Spain, France. So it's not all Japan and the US. And Galeco really made a mark when they released World Rally, and everybody wanted to copy that one. It's a game very like that I've got a little potential list for the stream today, although I didn't put World Rally itself down. Oh. Yeah. Blood Brothers also got bootlegged by Playmark as Hard Times, which sort of has a gangster theme to it, but the sound pick on that one still needs decapping, so there's no sound, but that is kind of one I'd like to see get done. If somebody picks up a board and gets it to the right people, they're pretty good at doing the picks, but I don't think it's a high priority for a lot of people, and the board tends to be for sale in Italy. Is this a random cow? It's only death smiles. When you slide, you're temporarily invulnerable, which is an important strategy, unless you slide into the bullet. Nix also did a Pang sort of rip-off called Genix Family, which is also not bad, but I don't think it really compares with this one. Just doesn't feel quite right in terms of gameplay.
You got it.
I keep forgetting to use my bombs as well. I've got loads of them. I mean, there's some strategy in saving them for the bosses, but... And I think, yeah, that's me dead. I don't know why I'm entering my name on H8, yeah. 4-letter name entry is unusual. It's usually 3 or then something in excess of like 10. Hey Foxhack. Hey Ethel Chip, is that correct? Yeah, definitely more people watching here than when I did the test streams on Twitch. Again, doesn't really surprise me. Twitch channel is failing. Anyway, that was Pirates by Nyx, and so if you like Cabal and Blood Brothers, Hard Times and the rest of them, it's one to check out. Mitchell also released a game on Namco System 10, similar, but I haven't got that emulated yet. I can't remember the title. Anyway, that was Pirates. Let me get the list of things. That one's been done. What's been done? Okay, I'm not sure the control setup for this, but yeah, this one is the one that's a bit like Gayoko's World Rally, but this one is Great 1000 Mile Rally from Kaneko, and this is the USA version, which is the same or similar to the Evolution model, which is an upgraded version with fancier effects and a greater sense of speed. This was another one that was relatively popular, and you can see why. It's not a European game, despite it being based on a European event. Which Pirates was loony. Yeah, Pirates is pretty loony. Mr. Kicker before it was too. Let's see what's settled here. Okay. I'll have a Jaguar. You may as well start stage 100. This is nice and smooth, but yeah, the USA and Evolution models had all these flame effects and all the extra sort of graphics to make it look like you're speeding along faster than the old version, and it really helps. And the thing with this game, the control just feels right. If you oversteer or keep hold of the steering, you will spin. It's not like something like Data East Backfire, where it just feels very stiff, or even worse, the SSV Drift Out 94, which came before the Neo Geo one, but is much worse. Yeah, if I'm talking, I'm not concentrating. Okay, I'm definitely going to have more than one credit on this game. Let's try again. The USA version of this is quite odd, because obviously the game is set in Europe, but they wanted to appeal to a USA audience, so they just plastered an extra American flag in the middle of the track in places and rethemed the title. Oh dear. But yeah, I don't know why there's suddenly such a celebration of America in Europe, but there we go. Right. I think I'm struggling because I'm on a pad. I'm not used to it. You know, when I say I'm not the best at this type of game, or any game, yeah. World Rally was really the start of all these racing games with this kind of view. There was the original Drift Out before, but that was overhead and rotating playfield. But Gayoko with World Rally, especially with Atari picking it up for distribution in the US, did set the world alight. I think it would be their most remembered name. Most remembered name game. I seem to be skipping some frames here, which is odd because I don't know why. I'm not going to finish it now. Maybe the USA version is just much harder. But then again, there we go. See all the flame effects at the end there. And yeah, this is over the top. Yeah, I think this USA and Evolution model exaggerated that to make it look faster, and it worked. Oh dear. This is why they don't let me drive. Yeah, I'm going to have to look at these frame rate issues. I don't know what caused it, because if I bring up the frame counter, it's not skipping anything. It just seems to be Windows dropping frames when I've got OBS and stuff open. Oh, look at all these USA flags. A little bit excessive there. I haven't actually seen a cabinet for this one with the steering wheel controls, because it could use both. Oh yeah, World Rally 2 is perfectly playable these days. The Dallas has been dumped. We verified it from several different units, and as far as I know, the game works fine. I could put it on, but that seems a bit similar straight after this one. Yeah, this is a really good game, Ed's Vision. So this, as soon as I played this the first time, I just it's one of those. It becomes difficult to put down. It's not an easy one to play and talk, because you know, if I'm talking and looking at glancing over to the chat, I'm missing the corners and you don't get long to react. Yeah. A lot of people even seem to like the Blomby car thing that seems to be an odd hack of World Rally, or at very least cloning the hardware. Anyway, shall we have a look at something else? And hi to anybody else who might be watching, who hasn't announced themselves. Okay. Right, what do you do when you've finished raiding, whatever you want to call it, and played to death? Nothing else you feel you can do in it? Well, why not play a game that is a ridiculously similar? But here we go. What's the set name? Mitchell's Double Wings from 1994, and of note, I'm playing the Asian clone set here, which was recently added. There's a reason for that. You get a choice of planes, which is a bit different, at least. But that's the bomb button. But yeah, a bomb with a delay and a big round explosion. Very similar sounds for the shot. The power system that... Red. But you have to click the same colour power to actually power up, otherwise you just change shot type, which is something that is in some lobbies. The main thing that frustrates me in this one is just how many shots on these enemies take. A lot of games suffer like that, this one does, but it's just so much like the riding. The shot patterns are similar. It doesn't look as good. And this is surprising for Mitchell too, because Mitchell did a lot of really good original ideas, and this is just such a rip-off. Even these enemies, you find these in Rival. In one bomb. Got to carry it around. I do like my vertical shooters. I wouldn't say I was especially good at any of them, but it is one of those genres where the arcades really excelled. I think because vertical screens were common and it's a genre that really suits them. Oh look, that big tank thing. How original. And the way you explode, I might have seen that somewhere. Unfortunately, now I'm back down to the lowest power. But yeah, I died. And if you've played Double Wing before, you might have expected there to be a little animation and it to take you back to a checkpoint. This new Asian game that was added doesn't do that, which means you can actually credit feed it and not replay the same 2-second loop of respawning at a checkpoint and dying without your power up again and again. It completely changes how the game feels, and well, I'm sure the other's fine if you actually get good at the game. If you're not good at the game, you don't get to see much of it. So yeah, if you've played Double Wings and wrote it off as an overly difficult riding clone, then this Asia set may change your mind a little bit. Even on continue, it doesn't checkpoint yet. I don't know if it starts on later levels. I've not actually played that much, but it's one of those new additions that was easy to overlook. I've not seen anybody talk about it, not even in the community, the Chinook community. So maybe nobody noticed. But yeah, there was some debate as if it was a hack or not, but looking at the code it definitely isn't. I think it's all encrypted, and I think they just decided for some markets they wanted this gameplay. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the Mitchell games on System 10 are one of the reasons I'd really like to see the remaining encryption and protection problems sorted out there, because there are some fantastic ones. I can't remember the title, but there is one that is very much like the Lizard Valve. But yeah, Mitchell's got the Panzers, they've got Charlie Ninja, and they've even got good adult games. Party Time is a really good game, but there's no way to turn the nudity off, which means if I want to stream Party Time, I'm going to have to try and find that cheat or something like that to make it stream friendly. I don't think either YouTube or Twitch would really approve of a game where there's where you're stripping somebody. I mean, the image here is probably pushing the limits to what they'd accept. There's probably some of the Spanish games as well, the Italian ones. They've just got random little bits of nudity in Gayoko's Squash, for example. I think Powerballs as well just have, a random nude member of the crowd. That's how it is. Okay. I think I'm going to try and play this one on keyboard. Let's rewind to 83, 2 years after I was born. This is Dommy, which is one that I added to the driver back in the day without knowing much about it. I think there might be still some doubts over if there's a missing palette change at some point because some of the colours aren't used. But yeah, Technos Japan. Technos Japan, strange company. They made some really well-known games like Double Dragon and the WrestleFest game, and then just after, when they seem to be doing well, they ended up going bankrupt. So Yeah, this is one of the earlier ones. They did similar to scrambled egg and eggs in the hardware. But you're pushing dominoes around. This seems quiet. Turned it up a bit, as it seemed rather quiet in my headphones. But yeah, you push the dominoes on. Every time you push them, their value increases. So a strategy is to try and increase the value as high as possible. Obviously, you're being chased the whole time, because if you weren't being chased, it wouldn't be an arcade. You can push them against the wall, and the value increases. But the idea is you try and get them onto the what do you want to call it? The path with the highest possible value, and that adds the most dominoes. This requires a lot of concentration. Okay. So there's... I think this is probably still a bit quiet, isn't it? Seems quiet to me. Yeah, you can stun them, I forgot that. Anyway, no, he's lowering my... got me. Anyway, you line up the dominoes, and then after a while you can push them. If you go over one of the gaps where the belt is, then you get an extra bonus point, and the levels get increasingly complex. But this is one of those that I would say was one of the underrated games of the 80s. It's surprisingly tricky. And you've got one of the other characters trying to get to your dominoes and push them over as well. There we go. Has anybody in the chat actually played this one before? Or is it one of those that has just been overlooked? Got a different theme, different graphics. Onto those. You can't push them where you've already got dominoes, which is something you keep in mind. Yeah, I'm guessing it never left Japan. It seems to be a rare one, but I think it's could have done well. I've not found any major flaws in the overall design of it. It does get a bit tricky after a while, but most games do. Get a bonus yet? Nice little bonus there. I always think these games feel a lot like Data East games as well. I don't know if it's in some way the sound design. But they're not. I could somehow see this sort of being a Data East game on the cassette system. There are multiple gaps in this one. It's got a lot faster. This is where it does start to get much trickier. Just push one out. that's game over. You don't get any continues. It's an old game. But yeah, a nice little challenge, rather cute. Definitely, of all the domino themed games, this one would be my favourite. Little cast of characters. And that one looks a bit like Towley from South Park, I think. But there we go. That was Dommy. Where should we go next? Atari, Vector. See how this works. Quantum. One that was done by General Computer Corporation for Atari. Not as famous as some of their other work. But, there's a lot of story with that. This one is one of those that is an original idea, and that's what's really good about it. You are circling things. It's got a nice big trackball, and you've got to capture things by circling them. So everyone. And circle that, circle that, circle that, and capture these little things for bonus points. It's a very simple concept, but nothing else in the arcade system. And with the Vector monitor, it just looks fantastic. If you ever get a chance to play one of these on real hardware, it's just as worth playing as something like the Atari Star Wars. The colour Vector games just have that look to them. Emulation never captures. Here I've turned the bloom up a bit, make it brighter. It doesn't quite look like this, but it feels closer when it's brighter. This sort of feels like you're writing with a sparkler or something like that with all the glow. Oh, yeah, I turned it up for the previous game. That would be why that should be better. Yeah, the thing with MAME is you've got all sorts of games with different volumes in the first place, so you have to keep an eye on it. Like if I was to try and put Mortal Kombat on, that would be very quiet and be turning it up again. Hey, awesome Panda LPs, how you doing? A completely different style of game with balls in space with the emotion on the home systems. Oh yeah, this one you actually get to write your name as well. So let's see. I don't think there are many. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I'm using THZ. There aren't many games where you actually get to sign your initials, which again, because it's the whole drawing thing, it's a nice feature, but obviously one that is also open to abuse because you give somebody that ability and they're going to draw things rather than sign their initials. It's becoming a very expensive hobby if you actually want any arcades. The actual stocks are running dry. Second-hand sellers, not got many. People are starting to import them just so they've got them now. Even ones that were considered common and popular for a while, the prices are just getting ridiculous. It is one of the reasons I've started looking more at other things, because they're more affordable and I can buy plug-and-play devices myself and study them and compare them to the emulation. There's no chance of me doing that with any of the arcade boards that are undumped. They're ridiculous. Well, yeah, a face with sunglasses would be fine. Oh, hey, Zebo 2002. Hey, hi, how you doing? Everything good? But yeah, I'll give Quantum another credit because I do enjoy it. Let's start on round 9. This won't last long. Lastly, I think I'm trying to be too quick. There are other games where you do circle things, but not in the whole smooth analog trackball way. If you think of sort of Disco Number 1 or Sweetheart or whatever you want to call it from Data East, you're skating around trying to circle enemies, but it's really not that impressive compared to this one. Eagle Loopers. Is that a game? Yeah, there have always been compilations of the games, the popular ones at least, on the consoles. And I see that just as much these days. At least the ones where they can actually trace down the licensing and get it all sorted out. Which is sometimes a lot trickier than you'd expect. A lot of these IPs have ended up in all sorts of hands. Even ones that are well known. You've got Miss Pac-Man. It's very difficult to secure licensing. I think, was it At Games now own that? And were part of that, and they don't want to work with Namco, and Namco don't want to work with them, and yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've never been to California Extreme because it's a long way, and I don't get to see those things. I know that it looks like a show worth going to. I know the Predators thing that we were working on, that I was asked to work on about 10 years ago now, appears there sometimes, and that's still not been submitted yet. I still don't really know what the hold-up is with that one. Phil was looking at it, but it's a sort of seems to have disappeared down a black hole. But that would be an interesting one to get up and running and show on stream. Although probably not much fun to play because it was a big 4-player cabinet, sort of drop-in, drop-out arena game. But yeah, it probably looks more like a Jeff Minter game because I've turned the brightness up and made it look all over the top. His games were like that. I mean, Tempest on the Jaguar is still a good experience, and I think the Tempest game on the new one is one of the reasons people would actually like to see that emulated, although that one will be a nightmare. It's lots of processors, cores that have to, I think, run in lockstep, and it's DVD tech otherwise. Don't think it's going to run well if it gets emulated in MAME. No, I'm assuming it's fallen foul of the same problems as every other event at the moment. I'm sure people will be back next year. Probably everything in good working order. They've got an extra year to repair everything. You don't find many arcades these days. Bowling alleys is about the only place that I can think of. We used to have a bunch in the shopping centre here, but those were replaced with a restaurant, which I think is now closed. Anyway, yeah, Quantum's a good, fun concept, and there aren't really any other games like it. Another early one, 82. Ooh. Shall we go with Sega's Final Super Scaler? Oh. Cool Riders 95. This was a fun one to emulate. it's got its own crazy compressed sprite system. The actual game is really outrunners, but with bikes and ridiculous over-the-top humour. I've also got this set to easy, just before anybody mentions anything. But yeah, digitised graphics. Automatic. But yeah, this platform doesn't make much sense. It's a pure sprite scaler. It uses sprite, so quads, but they're not just, you can't play move the points anywhere like you'd need for proper 3D graphics. So it was clearly designed for sprite scaling rather than 3D, and everything apart from the background is done with the sprites. The sprites can have line tables and line zoom, which is how the road works. It's actually some of the plug and play hardware I was looking at recently. The GPO 16250 stuff reminds me of that. That seems to have a similar system where you can just have different levels of line zoom on sprites, but I don't think it's quite as flexible as this. I think my control sensitivity is all wrong. Yeah, this was the only proper game released on this hardware, and then it was also used to render the backgrounds on a coin pusher machine. So they were clearly just trying to use up the hardware. Maybe it didn't perform as well as they wanted. Maybe they realised that there was no market for 2D games anymore. 2D scalers, or the 3D hardware is just as capable as doing them. But there must have been a fair investment, because there's patents for the whole sprite compression technique. I don't know. It's a very, very odd one to see. Part of me thinks this game was probably never quite finished. Maybe they'd even start up with some sort of demo for the hardware, because it really is just a rethemed Outrunners, but completely over the top. I mean, I think over the top works really well for arcades. This is one of the reasons I think if Tattoo Assassins had been released, it would have actually done well, because it's just got that over the top arcade level of insanity. You put boogie wings in the same category. You're throwing elephants around with planes. Yeah, it is the only proper game on this hardware. The SA Aqua stage isn't a game, it's just close enough to a fish tank background for a coin pusher. You can't even tell it has scaled sprites or anything. It also uses the hardware in a different enough way that it doesn't run properly at the moment. This hardware did also output 2 screens like the Multisystem 32. Some claim it could also do 4, but there's definitely no evidence of that in this game at least. I'm not sure where that came from. Yeah, one of the reasons I do wonder if this was quite finished is some of the stages, themes are reused on different routes. Both of them using the tunnel lighting or the elevation issue. Yeah, the actual layouts are different, but the themes, the country names are the same. So, but yeah, it's all on easy, so I just wanted to breeze through a level. Overall, considering how odd this platform is, the emulation turned out pretty well. There are some priority issues in the endings. I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, once you've added an extra 5 seconds of time to each course, you can crash as often as you want, really. Yeah, it will be the Outrunners code base, just with a new lick of paint. And in that sense, it still holds up as a game. It's still good fun. It does only run at 30 frames a second instead of 60, which you do notice, and there are some slowdowns on original hardware. Again, it might be why we didn't see much more of this hardware. But I don't know if it's a good final sprite scaler from Sega. not bad. Got all these, oh, we've got Tails there, haven't we? And Sonic. You know, if your arcade had this, I'm sure you'd play it, especially with another player, and probably link up some cabinets for your more action. Yeah, that is. There are quite a few games like that, but that is one of them where you do wonder what was being taken while it was being developed. But I like it. It's one of those where the time investment of emulating it feels like it was time well spent. I don't think Sega have released it on any other platforms, although I could be wrong. I think maybe they should consider, you know, putting it on one of the newer consoles, but you never really know what Sega are going to do. In terms of emulating it, I had to actually implement a sprite cache system because decoding the compressed graphics in real time was really slow. So the actual emulation code is a little bit messy and not clean because I'm just having to do things to get the speed up. Because, you know, driving 2 medium resolution monitors with a whole lot of sprites that are compressed is quite expensive. So again, I was quite impressed by how fast it ended up running. The audio emulation lets it down a bit at the moment, but hopefully that'll be fixed. I'm sort of crossing my fingers. Once more work gets done on something like the Saturn, we see improvements here too. But yeah, again, it's one to have a little play of. Just want to see the stages, put it on easy. I think that's the most rewarding way to play it if you're not especially good at driving. Where next? Ooh, shall we stay with Sega? Yeah, I saw this one mentioned in a video earlier. It's another one I emulated. Angel Kids. Okay. Right, you'll have to let me know the volume on this one because the meter does not work well. This, again, is a case of the game and hardware really being tied together. It's a dual stick game. You can one stick controls one character, the other controls the other, and you can use the band to flick the character higher. But the unique feature of the hardware is this split screen down the middle. There's two different layers, one for the top half of the screen, where it's only displayed in the top, and one for the bottom. There are 2 games on this hardware, this and Space Position. Space Position uses it for the 2-player split screen mode, but I think it was most likely designed for this game, where you just have to guide this baby up to the top and pop balloons along the way. I don't know if you have to pop balloons, but I'm not sure you do. Just get a bonus. It's a little awkward to control. You have to get the flick just at the right time to get the extra height, and then you don't want to block yourself with the balloons like that. But yeah, when I first emulated this one, we couldn't run the other game in the hardware Space Position because it was one of the encrypted Sega games that, at the time, nobody knew how to get decrypted. So the graphics ROMs for the background layer actually doubled up on the board, and on Angel Kids, because the top and bottom of the screen do use identical graphics, both pairs of ROMs are identical. On Space Position, they're not, because it uses it for the title screen, which has space at the top and position at the bottom. When we got that one emulated, it allowed us to fix which ones were being used for which part of the screen. There's a little bit of trivia. Hey Faye, how you doing? I did mention to you that I would give YouTube a little try, see how the streaming was. Yeah, this game, I'm not really sure why you're kidnapping this kid and taking him to heaven. Is the kid meant to be dead? I really don't know. I think best not question it. But, I think the beanstalk level, the first one, is probably the cutest theme one. And you've got... I mean, if this kid wasn't dead before, probably going to be after the angels are finished with it. Unfortunately. Yeah, let's not try and question the design of this game. So I'm not really playing this properly. You are meant to do the flicks. You can get really high off them, but again, I'm guessing not many people saw this one. Twin stick alone means it's not going to be in a general cabinet. How many other twin stick vertical games are there? Crazy Climber. I don't know if Nasco developed this, or Sega. It's got Exa Planning on the title screen, which is also present in Riddle of Pythagoras. I think this is Nazca hardware rather than Sega hardware. Exa Planning is also on the title screen of one of the undumped System E games. Unfortunately, we missed out on buying it some years ago. Megumi Rescue, I think it's a Master System port, but the arcade is vertical, which probably means it would be the best version of the game if we'd managed to get it, but I hate to think what it's going to cost if it shows up again. Oh dear. Oh yeah, there's two people just dancing on top of the building there. Seems sensible. Yeah. Very thanks for your playing. Yeah, it's... I remember seeing screenshots of this on the old Unmamed site, and so I thought it looked really cute, and then I saw there was a ROM dump for it, and I thought, well, I'll give emulating that one a go. And because of the screen split effect, it ended up being one of the more memorable ones. Yeah, that's not a font you see in many places. The Zadugo or Tudugo plug and play uses a similar font on the box, which is why I wasn't entirely sure what the title of it was. In one place it really looks like a 2, but in another it really looks like a Z. So I just added it with both names. But that's not what I'm going to be playing today. I don't know. Is there some story behind the person you mentioned and this font? I'm unclear. Anyway, if you want to show them this font, then go ahead. But yeah, I didn't really notice before, but it is a nice, colourful, stylish font that does add to the feel of the game. Anyway, that's Angel Kids. Ooh. Some people may know this from the PlayStation. Deroon DeroDero, aka Tecmo Stackers. And this is a version that actually has Tecmo Stackers on the title screen, suggesting it was probably the export version. But unlike the PlayStation version, it's not full proper title logo graphic, as you'll see in a bit. The errors aren't errors, by the way. It's reading it not actually from dip switches, but from backup memory. Tecmo. Turn this down a little bit. Again, we've got very cute and very good. I really like the music and general sound design in this one. You see, this has got a nice little logo somewhere. Oh, this is this one that actually says Tecmo Stackers? I don't know, maybe just one second. Yeah, there we go. That's the only place Tecmo Stackers actually appears on the arcade version, and only on this set. But maybe it was an export version that they just wanted to slap a little English bit of text on. Because let's say the menus are in English too. So it's a game a bit like Pure Pure, but not quite the same. I'm going to play this one on keyboard. Vocals and music. Yeah, when you get the chains, or when you clear the blocks, you get those pieces reaching out, which means you can create extra combos across the playfield if you get it right, which I don't know if I am. Not that time. It's been a while since I actually played this one. Yeah, it's Pure with an original twist, and it's an original twist that I think is really well done. And maybe you'd expect the production values are there with it being a Tecmo game. I think that's what a lot of these manufacturers were trying to do, the developers, their own take on the genre with a little twist to make their game memorable. I've not set up a single chain with the extra mechanic yet, but there we go. That's tied the blue ones together. That's tied some red and green ones together. Notable things about this hardware. There's a little bit of protection that was a guy, I can't remember his name, did bypass back in the day. The actual device is a lot more complex and not done, but the function seems very simple. The transparency on the background is actually a hardware transparency effect. There's only 2 games on this platform, the other is a fighting game. It does have a decent audio system, which is an area a lot of arcades really skipped on quality with. I'm guessing because arcades are generally loud and you don't really hear much. It's an easy place to say, I'm going to lose on this level. I don't like what's about to drop. Nope. Okay. You have to play much more quickly than that to beat the level. Yeah, okay, let's give it another try. I have got quite far on this before, but not more to it's one of those cases that it's actually... The reason I'm streaming is because I was too hot to actually get any work done, and I think games that require concentration like this are falling foul of the same. It's too hot. I did want to demonstrate it. At some point maybe it'll take me to... There we go, this will... No, that doesn't... dear. No, not what I wanted to do. I went shopping earlier just to get a bunch of soft drinks in, although the fridges at the local Tesco were all out of order. So even the drinks I got weren't cold, although they're in the fridge now. This country does not cope as soon as it gets slightly hot or slightly cold. But, you know, that is how we are. Anyway, Tecmo Stackers. If you can concentrate on it, it's a good game, and it's not as hard as I just made it look. It's I think it's only around about 28, 29, but you know that's quite high for the UK. We do sometimes hit the 30s, but yesterday was meant to be the hottest day of the year so far. Okay, we'll go next. Okay. This one I'm going to have to put cheats on. Konami's Escape Kids, which for some reason runs far too slow in MAME, unless you overclock the main CPU. This one. Have you ever played Super Off-Road? Because this seems very much like Super Off-Road, except it doesn't have cars or, you know, monster trucks. But yeah, that's the rest. You've got your little shop, your little cash, you can upgrade and everything else. I don't think it has buy-in in terms of coins. Used one. Yeah. But 4 players, even the sort of whole sandy layout looks very much like Super Off-Road. But you just got little guys who run around. And the blue one. I know there are other games similar, Super Sprint and the like, but to me, this, especially with all the hills, feels like Super Off-Road. Okay, second's not great. I guess those are toilets. I don't know why. Konami had some odd games in terms of theme. I mean, it's a race. I guess I can't say it's that odd, but when you're used to playing this kind of game with you know, trucks and cars, and the animation style is obviously exaggerated here too. I'm doing really badly. Oh dear, last place, that's probably out. Yep, flushed down the toilet. I don't think I'm good enough at this game to be worth paying them for credit. But I enjoy it, but yeah, it's another I'd have to play it a lot more to get the feeling back for the timing and to turn and to run. But worth checking out. Just remember on current versions you will have to use the overclock to get the speed right. That's your condition, the black guy, black clothes. I think your super jump's limited too. I don't know, but yeah, you've got to beat the guy in black clothes to advance. I think that would be the same for all 4 players, so anybody who doesn't manage to beat the guy in black will and I do just tell you everything nicely in the test mode, the track mode. I fixed quite a few bugs over the years. Shadow Warriors bugs. I remember Shadow Warriors uses the odd transparency mode. Prehistoric Isle? I can't even remember what I fixed on Prehistoric Isle. That's how it goes. Actually, I've not got that one on my list. Right. Let's have a look at a Nichibutsu game. With an ostrich. Dacholer, 1983. There are 2 versions of this game. There's this one, which might be the original. I don't know. And then there's Kick Boy. I'll show you both. But, this one only had the colour bombs dumped in recent years, so if you've played it before, you might have played it with bad colours. GPUs, there's been talk of that for many years. I don't know much in terms of details. I think it's always been an idea. It's just a case of getting something that works and is cross-platform and isn't going to actually make the emulation worse. I still think a lot of people are going to be quite disappointed when GPU stuff does happen, because it's not a magic speed up. Oh yeah, the balls in this kill you if they bounce back at you. I think that's one of the differences between this and Kick Boy. Also, why does it default to 1 life? That is stupid. Let's try again. Oh yeah, you can collect them before they hatch. Actually, why are mice hatching from... look like eggs that aren't even... Again, I won't question it. We have mice hatching from fried eggs. This is not going well. This is harder than I remember it being. I think if you get two on the bridge at the same time, the bridge collapses as well, which is one strategy. Come on. Yeah, that's what I mentioned as Kick Boy, which is, I guess, probably designed for more for the non-Japanese audience. It's one of those games where once you're out of practice, you will just burn through credits really quickly, because you do things like that, you'll forget. This version is noticeably harder. But there are more levels than just the first level. I feel like I'm missing something here. I don't think I am. I think I'm just playing it really badly. There we go. Music changes between stages. Now we're being chased by bunnies. Let's put Kick Boy on instead. This version's too difficult. So yeah. It's sort of the same game, but a lot less cute. I mean, who is this guy? Get longer to, unless the default difficulty is just, I'd say it. I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep the stream going. So it was meant to be a test stream as much as anything. So the ball doesn't kill you in this one, which makes it easier. I'll probably end up doing maybe 2 or 3 more games after this. This one, if the ball hits you, it changes direction, which makes it so much easier. Because you position yourself where you want the ball to change direction, and you take an extra enemy. Doesn't mean I'm any better at it, but it is easier. Oh, there's a bonus game. Yeah, kick these back, kick these back. I don't know if the other version has this bonus game. I think it does. Look a bit like Mappy, don't they? The character definitely reminds me of ones you'd find on maybe an 8-bit computer game. I want to say Spannerman for the CPC for some reason, but it's been a long time since I played that one, so I'm probably wrong. But yeah, there are more game mechanics here. As I said, if you lead them onto the bridges can collapse, which take... well, because the bridge can kill you like that. Still seem to hatch from fried eggs though, I don't understand that. Nor why the ship is so small. Oh, here are your bunnies again that have taken me out. Yeah, Dacholer, Kick Boy. Two very similar games that do actually have enough of a difference between them to make them worth playing. That's an oddity, sad. Anyway, that's that one. Let's have a look at count of them, which is a bit like a head-on sequel. And one I'm very worried we're never going to get the original version of Dumped. This is a bootleg. The original, all the code, like Free Kick, is in a battery backed up module. And batteries aren't changeable, and when they're from 1988, you're not really... the odds aren't in your favour. I don't know if... I mean, this might be a perfect reproduction of the code from the module anyway, but it might not. But yeah, it's a modernised version of Head On. It was also meant to be a version of Head On the C2 platform, a modern one. Fortunately, I'm doing really badly again because it's been ages since I played this. But Head On is a game that actually came before Pac-Man, and you were collecting dots in a maze just with a car. So it's the original Head On is an important game in the history of games, and was cloned by a fair few manufacturers, but never quite got the same popularity as something like Pac-Man. Oh, there's a reverse button too. Okay. I used to be good at this. You do get those games where at one point you were good at them and then you come back to them years later and how did I ever play that? I'm using a mixer, an Xbox One pad and the keyboard. I mean, I mostly play on keyboard, but I've noticed for doing these streams the keyboard is quite noisy. Yeah, the 1-up doesn't work. That's something people reported. And I'm wondering if that's something to do with this being a bootleg, or if there's if it's just the one-up never worked in the game. But that does worry me a little bit. That's one of the reasons I would like to see the original module from one of these dumped, because there might be something that's being messed up on the bootleg with the one-ups not working just to make it more difficult. There's another bootleg of this that seems to have its own protection too, but might also be a bad dump. Yeah, I mean, even back in the day, I prefer to use the keyboard, so it's more natural to me. When I'm actually faced with an arcade machine, it is one of the things I find to be quite awkward. The controls. So that one-up thing does bug me. Might be worth looking into the game code to see what's what with it. Okay. Just have a go backwards button that's got very limited use. Let's continue playing. Not really show much of this game. At least, unlike the original head-on, it doesn't make you start every level again when you die or continue. The mazes do get more complex. What does the flag do? That stops. Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced by the default MAME mappings of, you know, Control Alt and stuff like that. They tend to conflict on a lot of keyboards. And also the Internet Archive Online Arcade. I don't know why they've stuck with the defaults there. Because it tends, at least in Firefox, to make the controls not work. Or can I go backwards? Okay. I don't know if there's a limit to how much you can go backwards, but again, no extra life. It's not a case of completing the stage then. I don't know. If anybody's watching who likes pulling game code apart, I'd be really interested in to know why the extra life does nothing. Or if it's even meant to be there in the first place. Maybe it's a sprite that shouldn't be being displayed. Stops them, but doesn't stop you from crashing into them. Okay. That's enough of Counter Run. Sega Neon System. So same kind of hardware type as Free Kick, which is also a pretty good game. And Gigas Mark II, and Amiga. Amiga being the most recently dumped one, which has the aftertouch on the controls from the start. And yeah, there are different mazes. I just wasn't good enough to get to them. Yeah, aside from that weird thing with the one-up, I do like Counter Run. It's a good take on an old game. Yeah, I think changing the defaults at this point would confuse a lot of people, though. Okay, that one can go there. One. Right. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with another Spanish or Italian game. This was dumped at the same time as Pirates, and the owner of this said it was the worst game he owned. The sound run is taken straight from Data East Tumble Pop. This is Diver Boy. I'm sure the main character sprite's ripped from somewhere too, and that credits font's used in a bunch of other Spanish games or Italian games. So it was distributed by Electronic Devices of Italy, but I think it's a Spanish game. What is it? It's basically upside down bomb jack. And yes, the music loop is very annoying because it's just one of those bootleggy sound systems which is just a simple sample repeated loop. You know what? If you like bomb jack, this is a perfectly fine take on bomb jack. What lets it down a little are the boss encounters. Also some of the object placement, which is often really close to the edge of the screen, which I imagine on an arcade cabinet would really be annoying. Yeah, it has boss fights where you seem to lose all your lives once you get there. It doesn't seem very well balanced. It's the problem with some of these games that they just get one thing wrong and the same strategy applies as bomb jack here. If you get the ones where the poles are showing, you get more treasures, more points, like all good games. The arcade, that adds depth. The scoring system, but if you do that and don't go for that back to the service, you lose some more bonus. Red ones can only be opened in correct order. There's a power, so I can shoot these. I'm guessing, are we talking Hang Pan, the Korean hacker tumble pop? Another game called Hang Pan that's amazing. It's like Hang-Kong's, I think a lot of these European and Korean games do reuse sounds. This one does have the tumble pop one, I think that Pang also has the tumble pop sounds. Yeah, it doesn't fit. I mean, okay, this is one of the powers you can get, but it also takes far too many hits. This is the first boss. I did say 1 credit, but that was a rough estimate. That map always reminds me of the Tasmania game on the Mega Drive too. I do like that Tasmania game. A lot of people don't. And it's got terrible Euro platformer elements of having to learn the levels, but it doesn't ruin it too much. Yeah, it's got Tumble Pop sound ROMs. It's like I say, a lot of these games did steal from Tumble Pop. Tumble Pop's probably one of the games that the most has been stolen from over the years. Even in terms of the Koreans really borrowing the basic hardware design for a lot of their games. I mean, I've no idea. Snow Brothers and Tumble Pop are two of the ones where the hardware designs were cloned and reused. Semicom's hardware is all clones of that stuff, apart from the later games. And sometimes the actual game code was all stolen too, but not so much Semicom in that case. Dead again. Call it 2 credits on that. But yeah, Diaper Boy, not as bad as I don't know. Probably lack of sleep too. This hot weather is not helping. Right, where are we? I think time for one more game. Yeah, okay. Echo cassette system. Speed through this. Right, Peter Pepper's Ice Cream Factory. The generally unloved spin-off sequel to Burger Time that I actually like a lot more than Burger Time. But again, I'm going to be really bad at this because it's been probably a year since I played it. Making ice creams makes me want ice creams though. Yeah, I'm going to play some keyboard. Yeah, it never got a release outside the cassette system. Okay, yeah, I'm doing badly. You can, if you get 2 scoops on the ice creams, you end up with really big ice creams. Okay, let's try again. Other it's already on easy. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Rugby game? Use the button to push it higher, and like that's the one button makes lowers, pushes them down, and one button pushes them up as well, which isn't really obvious. That was the down one. One of those you really have to get the flow for, but once you do, it's enjoyable. There we go, let's push that there. Push that up there. That should make a... Not yet, okay. There we go, there's a nice big ice cream. There we go, level 1 done. Yeah, the death jingle is a bit loud. I never really noticed it myself, but yeah, it is a bit louder. Yeah, that's. I would really like one of those cones right now, but we have no ice cream. But yeah, I'm getting far too warm here. I think the streaming probably isn't helping. It's probably making more heat in here with extra monitor and everything. So I'm going to call that here. Thank you to everybody who's joined in, and say if you want to pop over to the Twitch channel as well and hit follow there, because I think most of my streaming is going to be on Twitch, although the YouTube's one's worked out pretty well, and so there are more people here, and yeah, it's good to hear from everybody, and good to get to play a few games, and I think it's better just try and get on with some work now. So good afternoon, good evening, good night. I don't know where everybody is, so just try to enjoy the rest of your days. And yeah, everybody who's too warm, likewise, stay cool, plenty of water. My blessing for I don't know what do you mean by my blessing. You know, I say thank you for being here, Pedro. Oh yes, yes. I do get that quite a lot. Okay. Yeah, you have my blessing. Anyway, so yeah, I think I'll call it there. So bye bye.